Welcome. Let me ask you something honestly. How many English words do you know? 1,000? 3,000? 5,000? Maybe more? And with all those words, can you have a conversation comfortably? Can you express your thoughts freely? For most people, the answer is no. They know thousands of words, but they can't use them. They keep studying more vocabulary, more word lists, more flashcards. But their speaking never improves. Why? Because they're chasing the wrong thing. Today, I'm going to tell you something that might shock you. You don't need more vocabulary. You need to activate the vocabulary you already have. This is not just a video. This is your liberation from the endless vocabulary chase. So don't just watch. Feel this video, because by the end, you will stop wasting time memorizing words and start using the words you already know. Before we begin, let me say this. This video is powerful for your English too. Because when you activate your existing vocabulary, fluency comes naturally. So get ready, let's begin. The problem: passive vocabulary versus active vocabulary. Let me tell you about a woman named Alina. Alina studied English vocabulary religiously. She used apps, she made flashcards. She memorized 10 new words every day. After 2 years, she knew over 6,000 words. But when someone spoke to her in English, she could only use about 200 words. Simple words, basic words, the same words over and over. All those other words, they were trapped in her head, locked away, useless. She could recognize them when she read them, but she couldn't produce them when she spoke. Why? Because Alina had passive vocabulary, not active vocabulary. Let me explain the difference. Passive vocabulary means words you recognize. When you see them or hear them, you understand them. Active vocabulary means words you can use. When you speak or write, you can produce them automatically. Most learners have huge passive vocabulary, but tiny active vocabulary. They know 5,000 words passively, but they can only use 500 words actively, and that's why they struggle to speak. Because speaking requires active vocabulary, and most people never activate their passive words. The truth: native speakers use fewer words than you think. Here's something that will surprise you. The average native English speaker uses only about 20,000 words in their entire lifetime. And in daily conversation, they use only about 1,000 to 2,000 words. Yes, just 1,000 to 2,000 words. But they use those words fluently, automatically, in thousands of different combinations. They don't know 50 ways to say beautiful. They know 5 ways. But they use them naturally. They don't know 100 synonyms for happy. They know happy, glad, excited, thrilled, and that's enough. So why do you think you need 10,000 words? You don't. You need 1,500 to 2,000 active words, words you can actually use. And most learners already know these words passively. They just never activated them. Let me give you an example. You probably know these words: accomplish, achieve, manage, handle, deal with. But when you speak, you only use do. I did my work. I did my project. I did everything. Why? Because do is in your active vocabulary. But accomplish, achieve, manage are only in your passive vocabulary. You recognize them, but you can't produce them automatically. And that's the problem. Why memorizing more words doesn't help. Let me tell you why studying more vocabulary is a waste of time. When you memorize a word, it goes into your passive vocabulary. You can recognize it, but you can't use it. To move it into active vocabulary, you need to use it many times in real situations. But most learners never do this. They memorize 10 new words today. Tomorrow they memorize 10 more. Next week, 10 more. But they never actually use any of them. So all those words stay passive. They sit in your brain, unused, forgotten. And after a few months, you forget them completely. This is why vocabulary lists don't work. They give you passive knowledge, but fluency requires active skill. Imagine learning to ride a bicycle by reading about it. You read balance your body, pedal with your feet, steer with the handlebars. You memorize all the instructions. You know everything. But can you ride? No, because knowledge is not skill. You need to actually ride. To practice, to fall and get up, to use those instructions in real action. The same is true for vocabulary. Knowing a word is not enough. You need to use it, again and again, until it becomes automatic. The solution: activate your existing vocabulary. At Pro English Zone, we don't waste time teaching you thousands of new words. We activate the words you already know. We move your passive vocabulary into active vocabulary. Here's how we do it. Phase 1. Listening therapy for the first 2 months. You listen to English content that uses common, natural words. You hear the same words used in different contexts, different situations, different sentences. Your brain starts to see patterns. It starts to understand how to use these words naturally. Phase 2. Shadowing in months. 3 and 4, you shadow native speakers. You repeat their sentences out loud. When you hear, "I'm really excited about this," you repeat, "I'm really excited about this." You're not just hearing the word excited, you're producing it, you're using it. And when you produce a word out loud, it moves from passive to active. Your brain says, "Oh, I can use this word. I know how to say it." After shadowing for 2 months, hundreds of passive words become active. Words you knew but never used suddenly become available when you speak. Phase 3. Active usage. In the final 2 months, you practice using your activated vocabulary in real situations. You describe your day using varied vocabulary. Instead of, "I did my work," you say, "I accomplished my tasks." Instead of "I'm happy," you say "I'm thrilled" or "I'm delighted." You force yourself to use different words, and through repetition, they become automatic. By the end of 6 months, your active vocabulary explodes. Not because you memorized 10,000 new words, but because you activated the 3,000 words you already knew. And that's all you need for Fluency Challenge. Activate your hidden vocabulary now. You're probably thinking, but how do I know which words to activate? Great question. You need a system that exposes you to high-frequency words in natural contexts. You need materials that use the same important words repeatedly in different situations. You need guidance on which words to focus on and which to ignore. And that's exactly what the 6-month Fluency Challenge provides. For 6 months, we expose you to the most useful 2,000 words in English. Not through boring word lists, but through engaging stories, real conversations, and natural content. You hear these words. You shadow these words. You practice using these words. And by the end, they're all active, ready to use, automatic. You don't need 10,000 words. You just need 2,000 active words. And that's what we give you. This is not just a course. This is vocabulary activation. But here's what you need to know. The challenge is coming soon, and spots will be limited. So if you're tired of memorizing words you never use, if you're ready to activate your hidden vocabulary, you need to act now. Subscribe to this channel. Turn on notifications, because when the challenge launches, I will announce it here first. Stop memorizing. Start activating. Hit subscribe now. Let me ask you something. Do you know many words but struggle to use them when speaking? How big is the gap between what you know and what you can use? Write your answer in the comments. Your honesty will help others realize they have the same problem. Thank you for watching this video. I'm proud of you. I'm proud that you're ready to stop chasing more vocabulary. Remember this: Fluency is not about knowing more words. Fluency is about using the words you know. A person who can use 5,010 words fluently is more impressive than a person who knows 5,000 words but can't use them. Quality beats quantity. Always. Stop collecting words like stamps. Start using words like tools. Every word you memorize but don't use is wasted effort. Every word you activate and use becomes powerful. So focus on activation. Focus on usage. Focus on practice. Subscribe now. Join Pro English Zone and get ready for the 6-month Fluency Challenge. Your hidden vocabulary is waiting to be unleashed. Stay strong. Stay focused. Stay natural. And I'll see you in the next video.